All right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Geopolitics Live.
Live.
So good to see you guys as always. We are so excited. I am excited to be here, Ross. How
I'm
are you?
excited to be here.
Well,
too.
yeah, that's
We're
the whole.
all excited to be here.
But also because of the nature of the topics we're going to be talking about.
Oh,
But also
God.
is our weekly ritual with our viewers. We love to have a conversation with our viewers. That's what I really like about Fridays. Is that idea of that exchange with our viewers. So,
Right.
all right.
Well, maybe I can start with thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. We are inching closer and closer to our 70 million subscriptions.
We got in there one step at a time. As we always say, we'd start with it as a joke. But hey, did you notice? Like in last July, remember when we went to that conference? Last July, we were only about 13,000 subscribers. You know where we are today?
Where?
Almost 34. One step at a time. And
That's
thanks
right.
to our viewers, thanks to you. So that goal of 70 million, it would be here. We would know it. So, well, we want to thank you for that. And we want to thank our Patreon members for their continued support. And to all of you who have not subscribed yet, please do so now. So, I want to talk to you about some housekeeping stuff. Then we're going to launch into our normal, as we always do. We do a tour around the world as far as what's going on. Then Ross and I, we're going to delve deeper into our today's topic. So, all right, let me talk to you about a few things, guys. As we mentioned last time, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. And guess what? We have now a TikTok account. So make sure with the billion subscribers on TikTok, we would love to have you there. So finally we did that one. So, and also we wanted to let you know, just before I forget, we had a great interview yesterday with one of our guests,
Einar Tangen.
Tangen. Yes, and we're gonna release that one very soon. Very informative. I mean, my goodness, we could talk for 3 hours.
Easily.
Most of you guys have heard of Einar Tangen. Incredible guy. So who happens, he was educated here in the US, law degree, but also lives in Beijing. So he has a good perspective from both worlds. He understands it very well. So we do have other videos we're going to be releasing as far as some other guests that we already interviewed. Thanks to you for the suggestions and so forth. And of course, keep coming with the guest names. We'll reach out to them as we do that moving forward. Now we want to talk about one particular. You guys remember when we talked about a surprise for you?
I think they're going to find out right now what the
How
surprise
about if we do that? Well, how about if we do it this way, Ross? Why don't we let the surprise comes from none other than our producer,
Elizabeth? You're up.
Why not, Elizabeth? Where are you? Here you are.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for the kind comments that you made last time. It really made me feel very nice, and I really appreciate it. So I wanted to let you guys know that our full membership is up.
All right.
So if you guys want deeper information, a lot of you really understand that there's some information that we can't really share on YouTube for reasons that I think you're aware of. So this membership includes really deep dive presentations. And the first one that these guys are going to do is how Australia's economy and how their government got to where they are right now. And we all know that it's a very tumultuous time for Australia. So they're going to do a live presentation in a smaller setting and for a longer period of time with information that you couldn't get any other way. But I wanted to show you the website really quickly.
Oh, yeah, the
there
website.
It is.
Oh, my goodness. Look at that.
So if you guys want to, there's also a community. There's also a Discord community and that you can talk to each other on. And these guys get on and they have conversations. So join our membership. It is geopoliticsinconflict.com. And again, thank you guys for viewing. And back to the topics.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. We appreciate what you do for all of us. So without her, guys, literally, there will be no channel. So we are very, very grateful for that. So, All right, Russ.
What do you think? Should we take a world tour?
Well, how about that? That will be very, very interesting to do.
One of Chinese foreign ministers, Wang Yi,
Yeah.
met with European leaders this past week.
That's
What's your take
correct.
on that?
It's Joseph Borrell. And that was the live we did yesterday.
Yeah.
That was for a reason, guys. Why we did that? Because we couldn't wait. And I was like, you remember when I told you, hey, Russ, our viewers needs to know about this meeting that took place via Zoom. It wasn't face to face. You know, it's the idea that the EU, the European Union. By the way, this guy Joseph Borrell, he is the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. So high up, way he's the man. So you can just see why they are reaching out to China. But here is the interesting part. We just happened this morning as I was walking right here to set up for our live stream. The EU canceled the trade talk with Australia.
That is
just this morning.
significant.
Big time.
Big time.
We all know why. I went ahead and tweeted that. If you guys can check out my tweet on it, you know, I put the question mark. I wonder why.
Yeah.
So they just canceled that one this morning. So you can just see why only a few days ago, which was only about yesterday, the day before, that the EU talked to China. The next day, council talks with Australia.
Think it's a coincidence?
Oh, yeah, for
right.
sure.
Okay. Next topic.
Yeah.
A former U.S. diplomat. We must negotiate with the Taliban.
Oh, yeah, that came up, you know. I am not surprised at that. You know, this guy, he was a former, I forgot his name. He was a former U.S. diplomat, you know. And his arguments came from this particular point. Now that Afghanistan is a sovereign state, and the whole reason for all this is because we had some of our drones flying on Afghanistan skies. Well, wait a minute. It's a sovereign state. You
Right.
can't just fly your drones in an airspace without authorization. And that was his argument, because whether we like it or not, the Taliban are in charge.
Right.
They are in control. US is out. It was a strategic failure. We need to admit to it. And you can't just fly your planes and we couldn't defeat them even with our whatever. But that's his point. His point is from an international law that we should abide by the rules of the international law. Like us here in the US, we won't want any a Russian drone or Chinese drone or German drones or French drone, whatever, fly in our skies without permission.
Absolutely right.
That was his argument.
Oh, listen to this one.
Yeah.
Britain, the gas station crisis is under control. Not
A
true.
lie.
Lie.
A lie. It is a lie. You know why, guys? Because as of this morning, and I checked it from Reuters, one of the reputable ones, that as of today, and I quote for you here, many British gas stations were still dry on Friday, which means today, you know, after what just happened. Well, what happened basically is now you're starting to see the trickle down of the Britain exiting from the EU.
Mhm.
Why? They run out of truck drivers who can bring the oil from the refineries into the gas stations. That's where the problem, because majority of the truck drivers were from Eastern Europe. Some of them from France, Germany, because UK was part of the EU.
Right.
Now they're paying the price for that because everybody had to leave. But the moment the Britain exited from the EU, it's over. And this is where I see we might not be hearing soon United Kingdom. It might not be.
Oh, you don't think Scotland would go away?
Exactly.
You don't think
That's
Ireland
what
would
I'm
go
getting
away.
at. So
Yeah.
it will be a matter of time, guys, before we will see Scotland saying, Britain, we don't want to be with you anymore because we want to be with the EU. And Ireland will do the same. So basically, the bottom line, what Britain is saying is a lie.
China is cracking down on Bitcoin.
Exactly. And I kind of was very surprised at that one, because why would China crack on a Bitcoin for that one? Well, basically because China has to sort of rein in some industries to ban mining for crypto.
Oh, yeah.
So now, is this has to do with what just happened with the Evergrande? Is this has to do with where China is concerned about the reserves? it's hard to tell at this point. But personally, and this is my personal opinion, I don't see this as a good sign. By the way, China, this is not the first time China did this.
Right.
Yeah, they have cracked down on Bitcoin before. China goes back and forth into this. And that's something I am putting a question mark on as to what will be the reason for why China is doing what it's doing. So, and because there is some concerns inside China, and we're gonna, by the way, guys, we're gonna do a show about the challenges that China faces moving forward.
Not just Evergrande.
Yeah, it's
Lots
not
of them.
Yeah, because it's not a perfect system. There is no such thing in the world. China has its own flaws and its own problems, and we're gonna address some of this moving forward.
A U.S. Marine was jailed while generals play the blame game, taking no accountability.
Wow, yeah, shame
This
on
is disgraceful.
it is shame on our top brass. It's the Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Schiller. Stuart Schiller, 17-year Lieutenant Colonel, 17 years or 18 years with the Marines, and they put him in the bricks because he spoke truth to power. All of a sudden, they put him in jail. Shame on the Department of Defense. As a matter of fact, he said, the Joint Chief of Staff, General Mike Milley, needs to resign, and rightly so, because of the fiasco in Afghanistan.
Right.
And yet, here's the shocking thing about our system: nobody at the top echelon being held accountable and punishing a lieutenant colonel.
I was recently interviewing a career military person.
Uh-huh.
I mentioned this to you once before, and he said the morale could not be lower than it is right now. The military people have no confidence in their leadership. They say they're only playing political games and don't care if they hurt us in the process.
Yeah.
He said, I'm in 19 years. I won out, but I'm going to stay one more year so I have my retirement. But he said that we are demoralized by our leadership.
Yeah, it's shame, because to me was what literally bothers me personally. Here is a fellow American citizen,
Right.
who spoke the truth, and we are punishing him for it. Why? If we are to say we live in a democracy, speak truth to power. All of a sudden you put in the guy in jail. It's not right. It is not right. And shame on the Department of Defense, shame on the administration for not stepping forward and said, no, he has the right to speak his mind. We
Absolutely
shouldn't
right.
be punishing him. So we want just to share that with you, because that is not right. It is not right. So
Secretary Blinken said that the ball is in Tehran's court.
that's the game the U.S. playing. Now they're saying it's Iran problem. This one stems from recently Iran refused to allow the what's called the Energy Atomic Agency,
Okay.
the inspectors, to go to one particular site. Well, it's their country; they can do. And second thing, why do Iran have to bow to the West pressure just because we said so?
Right.
We're the one who withdrew from the deal in the first place. Who are we to be dictating to Iran what to do? That's like, it's almost, I'm coming to realize now that maybe it has not been synced in yet in Washington that the world has changed.
Oh, dramatically changed.
Yeah.
We're seeing China stand up very tall.
Yeah.
We're seeing all sorts of countries standing up and saying, we're going our own way. We're not bowing to you in any way.
Yeah.
And Iran's just another example. They're acting sometimes even belligerent and say, no, we're not doing that. You withdrew from the deal. We're going our own way. And they are.
And that was their base argument is, sure, we'll get back to the negotiations if you
Remove the sanctions for
remove
one
the
thing.
sanction, because you have to go back to how the deal was before it was withdrawn.
Yeah.
I think it's logical argument. I will be arguing from that position. So, and all of a sudden you got Blinken, Secretary Blinken saying, no, the ball is in the Iran court. It just doesn't make any sense. The argument is so weak. So the U.S. is almost holding up to whatever left over from its hegemony.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
A small victory for Biden. Congress approves a temporary budget to avoid the country from a state of federal paralysis.
Exactly. That was yesterday.
Yeah,
Yesterday. But this is not for, this is just to keep up with the operation of the U.S. government till December 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. Still, the big deal, it has to do with October 18th. Why is that? Because that's when our bills are due for payments. And if the debt ceiling is not the national debt, if the debt ceiling, if it's not raised, we will default on our obligations. And we all know what it means if we default on our stuff.
Free fall of the economy, perhaps worldwide impact.
Yeah. And you're already seeing Americans are struggling because the level of poverty is going up here. People are struggling. You know, you won't hear the government saying this. They always put a spin on how, oh, the economy is doing well. We are on the right track. You know, that's nonsense. Let's be real. Let's really be real with the American people so they can plan accordingly and know. Because now everybody is on the edge. I don't know what
you and I have talked several times about how many families live paycheck to paycheck. Do you happen to remember the statistic on that?
No, I don't, Ross.
It was a very significant number. Yeah. Saying we don't have extra money. We're on the edge every month, and if we miss a month, we start falling way behind.
Yeah, and yet we're adding $50 billion to the defense budget for 2022. Shame.
Defense
literally.
Budget higher than the next 20 countries combined.
You're absolutely correct. So that is where the issues is. By the way, I wanted to mention one thing while I'm thinking about. There is one of our viewers, and I'm going to disclose the name here, screen name, of course, by the name Evan. Evan, we want to say thank you. Evan went ahead and purchased some of our merchandise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we want to say thank you, Evan, if you happen to be live with us here. So thank you for that. So, all right, should we get on our topic?
Oh, let's do it.
I think so.
It is more than interesting.
Yeah, you're right. And by the way, guys, like we always do, once we get to the part where we do the Q&As, just please put a question there so we know that is a question, not a statement. So.
Well, you know, the Australians are now being left out of the real debate about what's going on with China. Deservedly so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Australians are being part of the debate. There is no debate in the first place.
Right.
You know, you look at now Australia acting as this authoritarian state, you know, police state. I saw some images this morning for the riot police in Australia.
Yes.
You're talking about geared up like in a military style. You heard the firing on the streets, and then they just where Australia's headed.
You know, there's a big distinction between peaceful protesting and riots.
Exactly.
And the riot police are now out in Australia, suppressing the people big time.
And those people are just want to speak their minds as is supposed to be in an open society. All of a sudden, you start seeing Australia moving into that direction of, you know, I got to lock down people. I mean, where are we getting? Look at just what happened to this lieutenant colonel here in the U.S.
Absolutely.
For speaking the truth, putting him in the bricks. Why? It's not right. You can't do that. So Australia now, it's almost like setting up the stage for the Western world to follow suit. And I won't be surprised, Ross. We might start seeing some of that here in the U.S.
I think we already are. We're seeing censorship beyond anything we've ever known before.
I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. And here it is. So, but that is not the focus on what we're going to be talking about. What we're going to be talking about today, guys, is the idea of, we used to hear, at least in my academic research and all that I've done over the years, it used to be the conversation about a war with China. Oh, that's there is no way it will happen.
It has previously been truly unthinkable, although the United States has messed with their government many, many times in questionable ways. But war?
Yeah.
And now it's headlines almost every day.
Well, because that gives you an idea that it's now closer than ever. Whoever thought? We are looking at a military conflict on the horizon between the U.S. and China.
You know, President Xi keeps talking about, we want peace, we want prosperity, we want to make the world work, we want joint efforts on the economy, on fair trade, on the climate change, and we want peace.
Yeah.
And now we have even one of the top ranking, I guess, Air Force generals in China saying, okay, you're so belligerent to us. Bring it on. We'll deal with you.
Yeah,
Bring it on.
Well, you know why that statement was said? Because the U.S. Air Force Secretary, he's the one who initiated that hostile language. And the Chinese, his counterpart, said, the counterpart didn't say it was the U.S., didn't say anything. All he said was, bring it on in the skies.
Ah.
We all know what it means. That was his way of answering. It's because, and interesting enough, guys, just for you to know where are we today as far as this conversation. First of all, there is not enough open debates about these issues. That's why we wanted to have this platform to have this conversation. Yes, it might be just limited on our levels, but who's to say? We don't know who's watching. Maybe somebody in the government might be watching our show here and said, hey, those guys and their viewers, they got a point.
Yeah.
And the debate is what's missing. And one thing that I noticed is Australian citizens have been excluded from every aspect of what the government does. But that's not the point. The big concern now for me personally, the way I see the trend going linguistically, I read enough about what's going on in geopolitics. That's my domain. That's my academic background. And I can just see the language, how it's used. Well, what I'm noticing is there are two camps. Okay? One camp, including military, of course, the defense industry, the think tanks or whatever, that pushing for that narrative, the aggressiveness of China will dominate the world. China is going to take over the entire region in Asia. China wants to be the number one regime in the whole Asia, militarily speaking. So then there is the counter argument to that from those who are saying, yes, there are faults with China, like every other system, but there is also good in China. And this is what Australians have not been provided with that opportunity to see and judge for themselves. They are now feeling the pinch of the economic aspects of it. $20 billion lost.
I was watching an interview show, I think it was 60 Minutes in Australia, and they had 5 guests. One said, we don't need a war with China. What we need is to do good business with them, and that's what China keeps telling us. They don't want to come and conquer Australia. They're not trying to rule the South China Sea.
Yeah.
And the other 4 were saying things like, well, they're dangerous. That doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, they're our adversary. They claimed it. Well,
yeah.
What does that mean? The others made, in my judgment, made absolutely no sense in terms of we need to be really prepared with our submarines and everything else to deal with this problem. And going, if this is what the Australian people are facing, all these experts saying that China is the most dangerous thing in our world, no wonder the situation is deteriorated to this point.
And that argument was coming from a guy by the name Dr. Malcolm. He is with the defense industry in Australia. So I kind of know it is because, I keep up with one of the think tanks in Australia. So I follow up what they're saying and the statements they're putting out. And that was the arguments that they've been, but you don't hear much about it because there's no debates. There's no debates going on as far as let's hear both sides of the argument. And this is what we try to do, guys, with our platform here. We want to present to the arguments, and of course, with the facts to the best of our knowledge, and
we want to back things up with factual information.
Yeah.
Linguistically, there's something called a nominalization. And that is, it's such a general word that you don't know what it means. Like, they're dangerous. Well, that inflames your fear factor, but it doesn't say, well, how are they dangerous? What's the consequence to our country? What's the consequence to me? Well, they're not saying that. They're just using all this inflammatory nominalizations and going, okay, well, we're scaring everybody and they're willing to spend the money on how many billions of these nuclear subs?
The increase now there, Australia just now approved the increase in their defense spending. You look at where the state of the country is in this case. The economy is going down. Australians have no say, and yet the government, Morrison government, is increasing the defense spending. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
29 years of economic growth, punctuated with, okay, China's dangerous, decline in the economy, $20 billion of revenue loss. I mean, come on.
Yeah. That is an interesting point you brought up, Ross, as far as what was the term again?
Nominalization.
Nominalization. I never knew that one. So thank God for your psychology background.
Well, I'm linguistically trained in that. So,
well, so you know, and now this is why Australians they're really confused, but some of them are repeating that concept of, oh my gosh, China's going to take over. China's not going to take over. Come on.
it's all they can do to govern China.
Yeah. But here's the thing: what Australians do not know. I know I'll be comfortable saying this. Australians do not know. They do not know that the decision in Australia is not made in Australia. It's made in Congress, in U.S. Congress, whether Australia is going to get involved in a war or not. Because, of course, it will be the U.S.-China confrontation.
Yes.
And Australia will be brought in because the decision will not be made in Canberra. It will be made in Washington.
Well, now that China's declared Australia an adversary,
Yeah.
geographically, they are very much more vulnerable than the United States is to something horrible happening to them.
Exactly. Well, the reason I'm saying this, it has to do with Pine Gap Base. I'm sure you guys know or heard about Pine Gap Base. It's a military installation, small one. It's a joined up between Australia and the U.S. But here is the thing: who heads that facility?
Must be the U.S.
Is a U.S. commander. You know, that tells you everything you need to know right there. And we will share with our viewers. And this is not a top secret info, whatever. But, you know, based on what I know, and there is one room inside that place, the Pine Base, one room inside that facility, Australian nationals are not allowed to get in.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, on their territory.
We don't even allow our allies in.
And it tells you right there with everything. So it's not a laughing matter because, you know, as we always say, guys, sometimes we might laugh, but that is not a laugh out of, it's laugh out of concern also.
Absolutely right.
To me, that's how it come out sometimes. You know, I don't mean to laugh because it's not a laughing matter. It's a serious. Because here's the thing. If a war erupts between the U.S. and China, guess who's going to be hit first?
Australia.
They need to, Australian citizens needs to grasp that concept. And what their government is not telling them, and this is where it's missing from that debate, because there's no debate. So the Australians are not provided with both sides of the argument.
You know, a recent survey, the vast majority of the Australian people are suspicious of China. Well, I wonder why. That's all the news they hear. Their government says we're afraid of China, and there are, you know, come on.
I know, they're just saying that. But here's the thing, Ross. A research was released, the content of it, and it was more than one. You know, all of them predicts that the U.S. will lose the war with China. You know, for every ship of the U.S., China will have 10.
It's not currently the case, but it could be very soon.
Yeah.
We know what they're capable of doing, and in a hurry.
Yeah, and same scenario in Taiwan. China has enough missiles that they can target 2 locations, one in the north, one in the southwest. That will be southwest, yes. You know, but that's where the concentration of the Taiwan's military. They will wipe them out quickly. Because here's the thing: should that conflict erupts, and we talk always in terms of a scenario we don't like to talk about.
Right.
But we cannot sugarcoat the reality and the truth. Should a conflict erupt, in this case, I would suspect the first thing is going to happen. You know what
Taiwan's going to
No. The first thing is going to happen is that China is going to knock down all the satellites around Australia area. Which means what?
6G?
Well,
what they're going to do with that?
There is one aspect of the China's technology that is not being disclosed, and it has to do with that ability of the laser part. But my point, what I'm getting at here, is that should that happen, the economy of Australia will sink within a day. Because why? You're gonna see you won't be able to conduct transactions.
Oh,
Your credit card will not swipe, will not work. You're gonna lose out, the fuel, the transfer, the transport rather of commodities. All that's gonna be disrupted quickly, and that is where I feel that the government in Australia is not being honest with the Aussies.
they're
with
not
the
giving them
citizens
the
to know.
consequences of an
Exactly.
armed conflict with China.
Yeah.
Talk about unfair, unreasonable, and unjust. There it is.
Exactly. And yet, the narrative that is coming is that China wants to take over. China wants to. We're not defending China here. You guys, we want to make sure, because I saw one comment from somebody. Well, those guys only talk about the good part about China. There are bad part about China as
And
well.
we're going to do a deep dive into that.
We're going to address that. Yeah, because the issue is China's facing challenges also.
Big challenges, internally and externally.
Exactly. I'm questioning right now. I am questioning the policy of why all of a sudden in private schools in China, all of them doing the indoctrination about Xi.
Right.
What are they hearing out? And what's leading to that? What is President Xi is afraid of? Those are legitimate questions we need to ask, and we're going to ask, and we're going to address. We wanted to ensure the information we have is as accurate as it can be. That's why some of our videos will be delayed a little bit. We'd rather have it that way and ensure the accuracy, because that's what we
want to inspire confidence in what we're telling you. So we spend, I don't know how many hours every week in deep diving research in this thing, for this show, to make sure we get it as accurate as we possibly can. So it takes time to do that.
Exactly. But just to go back to this point about Australia stuff, the debate that is missing, it's the idea of where this is going to go. And yet you hear, as I said, two camps, and the debate is very, very limited. The hard reality is that, once again, it's not a laughing matter. The hard reality is that Australians will have no say whether their government will be dragged into a war in support of the U.S. against China. They have no say into that. And to me, I was like, wait a minute. If you are to live in so-called democracy, which to me becomes not now, or has been for the last few decades, nothing but a consumption of ink, no more, no less. Because if you are moving into this system where locking people down for speaking up, come on. Do I will expect myself to be locked down because of I'm speaking the truth? That will be a problematic,
Oh, very.
But that will be problematic for the U.S. government if that ever happens to me, That's just my warning to the U.S. government for that. So it becomes the idea of, where are we heading with this? And the conflict, a military one, it's no small matter. That's going to change the geopolitical landscape fundamentally for the next 70 to 80 to almost 100 years.
Unless it goes nuclear, then catastrophe like we've never even imagined will occur.
Actually, I do believe if that will ever happen, it's going to reach that threshold. It will be decided on. I mean, look no further than what North Korea is doing right now. Because North Korea is already preparing. They just tested this, a subsonic missile.
Right.
What does it tell you right there? There are those who argue, well, maybe now Indonesia, for example, will require nuclear technology. Well, usually not nuclear technology, nuclear weapons, that is. Well, ASEAN countries have signed the treaty. They don't want all that stuff. And this is where it puts them into that middle road, like caught between...
the entire region will be victimized if any kind of genuine hostilities break out.
It will be pretty for no one,
Right.
And it will change the calculations from every aspect you can even imagine. So,
and what would happen if the Chinese economy was shut down to all the countries in the region who China is their primary trade partner with,
or the world for that matter,
or the world?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, today, by the way, just a side note, what's today, Ross? Is the manufacturing day.
Oh.
Celebration around, but for us it's not a pretty picture. Why? Because we've been saying for the last 6, 7, 8 years we're going to bring manufacturing here in the US. Lip service as always, because for us it's a matter of just give the citizens the lip service, and that's it.
And one sentence about the news behind the news.
Yeah.
What's the number one reason that manufacturing jobs have disappeared. It's the technology and innovation. Yeah, a bunch has gone to China, but that's only a part of the story. And can it be recovered? Probably not.
Well, we're
For
not
so many reasons.
We're not putting the effort into that.
We're not putting effort into it, and technology and automation are going to kill a lot of jobs worldwide.
Yeah. Well, you remember our conversation with Richard Turin?
Oh yeah,
He pointed out this point exactly. Why the U.S. should be concerned? Because China is moving ahead, whether we like it or not, technologically speaking.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where they are headed. So the idea, just to go back to this issue of the conversation about why there are no debates regarding the possibility of this conflict between the U.S. and China. As we said earlier, back then we used to think, oh, that's no, there is no way that will happen. Now it's closer than ever.
Right.
I almost feel like it's just around the corner. And if we don't get our head together and ensure the way to prevent this from happening for everyone is to sit down and have a meaningful dialogue.
And President Xi keeps talking about, let's talk.
Yeah.
They're tough negotiators, but
Yeah,
so
but
what?
but also-
They'll talk and resolve things.
yeah, but also part of the problem with that, Ross, is we come with this attitude of we are better, we are superior. No, you're beneath us. We tell you how we're gonna negotiate. It's like, who are you to tell us anymore?
Well, the Chinese are certainly responding in kind, saying, we're not bowing to you in any way. We are a sovereign nation among equals.
yeah, and the West doesn't want to accept that.
And you take a look at Foreign Minister Yi,
Yeah,
boy, he stands very firm.
rightly so.
I watched him do it.
Yeah.
I watched him answer a really rude question from a Western reporter.
Mhm.
And he said, quote, something, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but he said, your question is irrelevant, rude, and stupid, and I'm not going to answer it.
Rightly so. Yeah.
And boy, he was,
yeah.
and I heard, as I listened to the question, it was rude, stupid, and ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, this is why, just to put this within the bigger context, geopolitically speaking, this is where you see now that move from the EU. Because, yes, the AUKUS, the new alliance triggers that, but also, is European Union seeing something that they're not going to see eye to eye with the US about, which means China.
Right.
So they are thinking they're thinking in terms of their own interest, and rightly so.
And they should, absolutely.
So that becomes the question that I'm asking personally is, I don't see the trend yet as to the beginning of the end for NATO. I don't see that yet. Whether that's going to be a holdup, because to me, NATO is a relic of the past, literally.
Well, even when Trump was president, he said, "What do we have this here for?"
Yeah, and he got a point there. He got a point. You call spade a spade. He got a point there. We are carrying the burden, financial burden that is for NATO. Why? It's about time for that to let go, dissolve all that, and let the Europeans defend themselves. Let them choose what they want. And this is where I see now the rift in the transatlantic relations. Yeah. It's getting there. We're going to see some big changes coming down the pipe. And especially now with one of your indications for that will be when Scotland seeks independence from the rest of the UK.
And my understanding is they have their own currency now.
Yeah, they are moving into that direction. So the next meeting in October of the G20, you will see, that will give you also an indication for, it used to be they all come together. You're not going to see that. I don't see that happening, because now Europeans realized, can we trust the Americans?
Right.
And the answer, all of them agree. That is.
What if that's the same question about Britain, about England?
Well, England, they look at England, they're just nothing but a follower of the U.S.
Rightly so.
Yeah, Britain does what the U.S. tells them to. So there's a whole idea of Britain doesn't have that kind of clout to use.
When Tony Blair was prime minister, he said it openly. We will follow the United States wherever they go. I mean, he was clear.
Yeah.
That took into Afghanistan, and just mess after mess.
Well, now their economy is an indication for where things to go. So. All right.
What do you think? Time for questions?
It is indeed, Ross. So let's do some questions. We'll answer some of your questions, guys, and we'll do some conversations here, and we'll move on. we're on time for this. All right. Yes, I can. Yeah. All right, Jack. Good to see you, Jack, as always. The question is, why are Asian countries siding with the US when they trade with China? Chinese economic problems could affect Asian the most. Stopping the Asian century. Rand Corporation forecast 25% fall GDP. That is a great question. What do you think, Russ?
Well, I question whether the Asian nations are siding with the United States. They're either claiming, many of them are claiming neutrality because their major trade partner is China.
Yeah.
I mean, far and away more than with the West. So I don't know that there's an answer to that question because I'm not sure the facts are there.
Yeah, I will. The way I'll categorize the answer for this is that twofold. One is that first of all, Asians are not, and this is based on the latest readings that I've been doing and all that. They are not siding 100% with the U.S. Yes, they will still give the currency, they will still have the talks, whatever, with the U.S., but that does not mean they are siding with them. Second thing, Rand Corporation is another mouthpiece for the U.S. government. So anything that goes from Rand Corporations, that's either to up or down, whatever directions the U.S. want. Look no further than what took place before the invasion of Iraq and what the reports that came out from Rand Corporation. So that's usually how I see things going. But the short answer, Jack, is the idea of no, they are not siding 100%, and they do see the economic prosperity lying with China, not with the U.S. All right, our next question. Oh, thank you so much, Truth Seeker, for your sticker. Did you
All
see
right,
that?
thank you
so
thank
much,
you.
Truth. We truly appreciate it. It means a lot to us. So, and this is where I see, the value of our viewers, not only in terms of content, in terms of the respect in discussions. I mean, even the way they put questions,
Right.
in a respectful way, and I
Yes.
truly admire that in all our viewers. Of course, you get some bad apples. As one of our viewers said, just ignore them. Yeah.
Well, we have to.
We usually do, but at the same time, I wanted to let them know that's the disrespect for our viewers. I mean,
Right.
I can take it. I've been around long enough to know. It won't bother me.
I think also Charles Chen. We can't get all the way up to the.
Charles Chen, we want to thank you for your super sticker here. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us. So we appreciate that. We couldn't see it on the screen here at the top. Didn't go up quick. But Elizabeth was able to show it to me on the phone. Ariel, good to see you, Ariel. As always. Ariel never missed our.
Really?
Live. No. I really keep an idea of not track, but I kind of know by now the names that I will see most of the time. So, question: could the license plate crisis in Kosovo be in a CIA plot to sabotage the BRI? Oh man. The short answer is yes. The reason I am saying this one, Ariel, because the United States, I'm going to say it, so I don't care whether they're listening or not. The U.S. is allocating about $300 million a year for that purpose only. So we're going to have actually, we did have a guest, and we're going to have him again for another side of that argument about the BRI. He's somebody who's a very, very, very intimate with this issue, very knowledgeable about it, because he's part of the big picture of the BRI, and what he has to say is incredible.
It is.
So we're gonna have him again, and he highlights your points. So the short answer, yes. All right, next question. Vietnam, good to see you. I like the screen image here. So the question is, what is the point of a war with China? The world will only lose, and the end of humanity.
Venom is right on. I mean, this is so risky, and we can't see any benefit to a war with China.
No, it won't be. There will be no benefit. And by the way, guys, it will be no winner.
Clearly,
There will be
only
no one,
losers
only losers.
perhaps by the millions,
By the
perhaps
millions.
worse.
Distraction will be massive.
Yes.
And this is why we are advocating for talks. Sit down. Those knuckleheads in Washington needs to get it in their heads. They are playing with the lives of so many for the damn ego, because that's all it is about. How dare they to pass us? How dare they to become the top technology country? How dare they to get to space? What do we expect? It's kind of like time change.
Right.
The world changes, and we need to change with it. Britain used to be the lord of the seas, shall we say, was controlling all that. And when the US surpassed that, Britain had to come to the reality of it, had to accept it.
And when they were reluctant, they became the poor man of Europe. And that was what they were called.
Yeah. So it's no different. History tends to repeat itself. This is why I've always saying, the 21st century, it's not going to belong to the US.
Clearly.
That's a fact. I mean, yes, you're absolutely correct. And what is the purpose of a war? And this is where in the debate, this is why we decided to talk about this today, because there is no debate where people can hear the other side of the argument, the danger of the war with China, the consequences.
Well, there is one winner, the military-industrial complex, who's inspiring all of this.
And shame on them, because they won't send their kids to fight.
Right.
That is when I've been in the military and I saw they will not send their own people, their own kids. Let others fight. While we're sitting in the comfort of our home watching TV, and hey, it's not us. Shame. So the short answer, the answer to your question is yes. Peace will be the key objective, and there will be no winner in a war, no matter what. No matter what. So. Oh, yeah, Lester. Thank you so much, Lester. We appreciate your sticker here. So thank you so much, Lester. I appreciate it. And Massimo Urban. Thank you so much for your sticker. My goodness, we got some support.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
You guys, your support mean a lot to us. We want you to know that. It truly means a lot. And this is why, that's 70 million subscribers.
Right.
It's because of our viewers, because of you guys, because you're the one who will be to spread the word about the channel, because we can only do so much on our end. And our viewers will be the ones and we are so grateful.
Well, absolutely right.
I truly like our viewers, and I intend to make sure what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to bring them the best of information that exists, because they deserve the best.
Absolutely correct.
So we want to thank you for that one. So, Massimo, once again, thank you so much. And the question is, a prime minister of ours was ousted by the CIA over request for greater transparency surrounding Pine Gap. It's treated like a conspiracy over here. Well, I will have to concur with that. If only people, unfortunately, I cannot talk too much about that here on this platform. I'll be straightforward about it. So, but Gabe, what's in that base is yes. Pine Gap is one of those off-limit stuff. Australians themselves cannot know anything. As a matter of fact, as I said, decisions in that base, it's not made in Canberra, they are made in Washington. So you can read between the lines and you see where things are going. So I can see why that prime minister was ousted, unfortunately. Next question. Oh, Dakian San, how good to see you, Dakian. I was wondering. I saw a comment from him yesterday. By the way.
Yeah.
Yes. Good to see you, Dakian. Question. Will U.S. push to militarize Japan after Australia? How far will it go? Missiles, nuke submarines, or even nuclear weapons? What do you think, Russ?
Japan already is armed.
Not with that.
Not with that?
Yeah, not with that. So I don't see that happening for one reason and one reason only. Russia is not going to allow it. Yeah, Russia will not allow Japan to become a nuclear weapon or hold nuclear weapons. That's a red line for Russia. Moscow usually doesn't say much about it, but based on what I know, yeah, Moscow's not going to allow it. Second thing, if you do that, if you, the US, will do that, that only, I won't use the term anger, but it's going to raise the alert in North Korea to the point that we don't know what they're going to do. You know, mind you, that North Korea already has nuclear weapons. Let's just not sugarcoat that. You know, it's not it's not disclosed. It's not denied. It's just the world is, some entities know about it. You know.
And they have a formidable delivery system.
Oh, they do. Their missiles are able to reach the U.S. You know, this is why, guys, we never attempt to take a chance on attacking North Korea, because we know what the consequences will be. The 50,000 troops in South Korea will be wiped out in a matter of, you know, an hour, within an hour, they will be wiped out, you know. And do we want to see body bags coming here? I mean, that's going to be...
Well, there might not be enough left to be in
yeah,
body bags.
well, the whole idea of what are we doing in South Korea with all that.
Yeah.
You know? But again, that's up onto the South Koreans to decide. It's their country. We can't speak for them. It's no different than what Australia is doing, in the sense of, you know, do South Koreans have a say into what their government is doing? I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Yeah, I've never been in South Korea, so I don't know. But the idea of, at least you see what Moon Jae-in did in Washington when he was here. He refused.
Right.
He refused what the U.S. was asking him to badmouth China, and he said, no, I'm not going to do it. It's because I got economic ties with the country. It's my biggest trading partner there. And I got companies inside South Korea that they do business in China. I'm not going to risk that.
And, you know, the joke we keep saying is, have you noticed the geography
of
South Korea and China? Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, what do you know?
Correct. So the idea of, yes, there are talks about, well, maybe those are just talks, because the U.S. understand that that would be a strategic mistake to embark on that path by, you know, arming the Japanese with the nuclear weapons, let alone that the history, you know, we kind of learned from the, can we trust the Japanese? So, you know.
And all the bad blood between the Chinese and the Japanese.
Well, China, as a matter of fact, no, I'm sorry, not China. Japan, as a matter of fact, never apologized. And I don't see them doing that.
I have to question whether the Chinese would actually accept, if the murder of 400,000 civilians is true, how willing would you be to accept an apology?
Yeah, certainly the dark chapter of the Japanese history in China is not pretty. That's a topic for another time. Village, here he is. How are you, Village? Good to see you, bud. Question: with Quad, AUKUS, NATO, Five Eyes, which is more likely a U.S. overcommitment dragging into World War III, or U.S. decline due to micro-militarism, or NATO balkanization into France, Germany, U.S.? That is a loaded question.
Oh, boy, loaded, all right.
Yeah. That is a good one. So, well, I can just see that the only one for that will be the NATO. You know, AUKUS is just. I actually look at AUKUS and Quads are nothing but a window dressing. That's just for. It's for, what's the word I'm looking for? Optics, no more, no less. No, because mind you that for AUKUS, for the delivery of those submarines, this is not going to happen next year.
Right.
This is still about 2040. By the time we all know between now and 2040 where the technologies of China, for example, where it would be, where the technologies of South Korea, where it would be, where whatever country. So the world is not going to sit idle between now and 2040. So things will change.
For all we know, it'll make the submarines irrelevant.
Yeah, because
you
will have you will have other technology that is far beyond. As to the Quad is fragmented to begin with. Now you got India that is reconsidering its commitment, because India just did it to please the US first, but they're realizing maybe we need to take a step back. And this is why the commitments from India is not inclusive. That's what was interesting about it. So the Quad is so what's left is NATO. And even with NATO, and this is why I said, if I see the trends within Europe, then you're going to start to see the disintegration of NATO. But till you see that, and who are you going to see that from? Germany and France. Those
Right.
are the key. History tells us that back in the 60s, when General de Gaulle pulled France out of NATO, he didn't like what the US was planning. So could we see the same? Maybe, maybe not. But France today is not what France was in the 60s. France is weaker today than it was back then. So unless they take a stand, I just don't see that happening. So the answer to your question will be NATO. That's the only one I see personally, based on what my understanding of how things are. Oh, here's Truth Seeker. Good to see you. The question is, will Australian dollar be devalued? What do you think, Ross?
Well, if I was a betting man, I would say yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
soon.
Yes,
You can't have a declining economy at this rapid rate and expect their dollar to hold its value.
Yeah, and yet the government's projection saying the economy is going to do well in the third quarter, or second quarter, that is, then third. I just don't buy that argument.
Well, there are even elements in Australia that are saying the government's lying to us. I mean, we can do the analysis, and they're just plain lying.
Yeah. Well, we have the same here in the U.S. with our Federal Reserve.
Oh boy.
The question that I've always, by the way, this is just a side note. The question I've always asked, do Americans, some of us, do Americans understand why the Federal Reserve never been audited? Yeah. Most Americans have no idea. They even think that Federal Reserve is part of the government.
And it's not.
And
It's a
not.
private corporation.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, it will eventually, because the reality of the economy suggests that's exactly what's going to be happening. So, next question. Oh, TNT, here it is. Thank you so much, TNT. We appreciate you. TNT is also another subscriber that's been with us from way back, from the beginning. So thank you so much, TNT. We truly appreciate it. So, question from TNT. Why do white Anglo-Saxons always choose war than peace among humans? This is the $6 million question. I'll make it $100 million question, TNT. Yeah. And the reason why I say this, and I'm going to let Russ elaborate on that as well. I just want to say something before I forget. The reason why I'm saying this, TNT, is because have you ever wondered, when we do role play, we always do role play about wars, but we never do role play about peace.
Unless you're from Switzerland.
Yeah.
And the Swiss children actually play neutralization and peace.
Yeah.
Going, is that really possible that children would do that? But we have one example of it in the world.
Exactly. And that's where that's how I see it. Why do we always, the Anglo-Saxons? It's because, in my opinion, and I'll let you guys, Ross, let you comment on it as well if you want.
I do.
In my opinion, is because they are controlled by the industrial entities, military ones.
I think that we see warlike behavior in human beings all over the planet. It's not just white Anglo-Saxons. We certainly have seen enough violence in China and Japan and just everywhere. And I think it's because powerful leaders come into play and are self-serving and don't care about the people. They say, my personal power, my personal wealth, and people follow them. We have examples of all the warlords. And people don't know any better.
You're absolutely correct. And that's where it stems from not being well informed.
Not being informed at all. To follow leaders that have nothing but evil intent.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but usually you will see most of the, and it's the truth, is the Anglo-Saxon, is the Anglo-Saxons, I mean, you look at the history for the last century, how many wars were there? How many died from genocide? And what was triggering, or who triggered that? Well, you look at the history in Africa, for example, with the French, the British. When you look at the Southeast Asia with the Dutch and Portuguese back then.
And you look at China and the beginning of the age of humiliation in China. Who did it? Well, it was the Europeans.
Yeah. Then you look at Latin America. So history tends to, we're just not willing to learn. We humans, some of us, especially in the West, we don't read much. We don't read much. That's why we don't understand other cultures, other civilizations. You got a Secretary of Defense that, yes, he might be in the military or whatever, but has no clue about the culture, has no clue about what the country went through in the last 500 years to be what it is today.
Right.
As we always say, the past
Is a great predictor
yeah,
of the
of
future.
Yeah, and always shapes the present and influence the future. So there's a possibility there. We'll do one more question, guys, and because we're gonna have to go record something for you for next week. And Solo Wolf, good to see you, and thank you for your comments. We truly appreciate it. The question is, how will the U.S. react geopolitically to the issue between Algeria and Morocco? Interesting enough.
Oh, your area.
No, it's the idea of interesting enough. What I wanted to say is just yesterday, there was a report was released from the international press that Algeria is conducting some really oppressive tactics under so-called terrorism to sort of shut down the press. Yes, they are going through that. And the reason being because the former president who just died, his brother now is in trial. There's a lot of corruptions going on in Algeria, and Algeria cut relations with Morocco because Morocco established ties with recognized Israel.
Oh,
And that's why Algeria cut it off. Well, we all know the history of Algeria with the Islamists, and it's another topic for another day. But yes, those tensions are increasing on the border. And also because Algeria just went ahead and signed a deal with Russia to purchase some advanced weapons. So you can always see, and not just between Morocco and Algeria, but around the world. If there are any tensions between neighbors, it always stems from weapons. Pakistan and India.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have to keep up. And now Algeria and Morocco does the same. If Algeria acquires some stuff, Morocco will have to acquire the same. If Morocco acquires something, Algeria will have to do the same. It's an issue that is not going to be resolved. And also for another reason that you don't hear much about, and we'll be happy to share with you, that has to do with the oil in the desert. So,
of course,
that could trigger a war between the two countries. And that's something you don't hear much about. You will not hear much about. But this is why Morocco is under the protection of the U.S. So that's usually what it is. So.
Well, we'd like to thank you for watching, and we'd like to thank you for subscribing. And as always,
well, indeed, before we need to, as always.
Well, wait, if they have guests.
But that's what I was. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for it because I was.
Because
I knew something I was about to say. Yeah, guys, if you have, I know some of you guys providing us guests, but also if you have more guests you would like us to have, please send us the names. We reach out. We do reach out to the one you send us. Just one thing we want you to know. It's not on our end. Sometimes it's on the guests. Availability, and we are respectful of their schedule.
Well, and sometimes they need to reach out to the guests and tell them about us.
That makes sense. If you guys can reach out to, I don't know if you subscribe to those guests YouTube channel, whatever, but if you do reach out to them and let them know about us, maybe they never heard about us. That's why when we send an email, they're like, well, who's this global Geopolitics in Conflict show? I never heard of it. Maybe they don't know about us. Yes. So if you will be kind and reach out to them, let them know about us first. But we want you to know that we do send an email reaching out to the guests you provide us. So keep the names coming for us, and we will do that. And
reach out to them.
Just make sure you guys reach out to them. Don't forget, please, to follow us on Twitter. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. And now we have TikTok. That's 1 billion subscriber on TikTok, Ross. Can we reach 70 million quickly with our subscribers?
Yes.
Yeah, we will.
Yes, we can. We can.
Yeah. And also now that we, as Elizabeth shared the surprise with you about the website, we have now the membership. Take a look at that. Take a look at the website. Go around, surf on the website, and you will see some good stuff in it for the membership. We'd love to have you join our membership there. So, any last thing, Ross, you want to say?
How about I say the last line today?
Certainly. And as always,
Stay informed.
all right. Till next time, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.